Hello everyone, welcome to another tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to install Proxmox Backup Server and how to configure it. So first of all, what we need to do is change the host name. So I'm gonna go to etc host name, and here we're gonna change this default name to, let's say, PVB, and then I'm gonna change it to this one. Next thing is hosts. Here I'm just gonna take out this, and here we're gonna enter our IP address. In my case it's this one, and the name I'm gonna do PVB, and then OK, and here I'm gonna go PVB. Here I'm just gonna add local admin and localhost. No, local, actually local domain. Sorry about that. Okay, so we got that covered. Let's check once more. That's a PVB. It's fine, and now it's fine. So now let's go and reboot the server. Once the server is rebooted, let's wait a moment. Okay, so let's go here to root account. Right, now I'm just gonna log back in here. Okay, and now we can actually start the install. So first thing we need to do, we'll need to, of course, install the GPG key, and for that I'm gonna use wget. So I'm just gonna check if I got it already. So now let's just get the GPG key. So I'm gonna get it from here, from the enterprise edition, so enterpriseproxmox.com, and then Proxmox release Bullseye, because this is on a debian 11 Bullseye. So I'm gonna pull the GPG key. I'm just gonna check if I have actual internet here. Yeah, I got it. Okay, fine. I had some problems, I guess, here with the name resolution. Change once again. Okay, got it. Next thing, we need to, of course, add the repository. So we're gonna go to etc/ptsources.list, and here I'm just gonna add the repository to pull down the actual installment, which is not gonna be the enterprise edition. This one is gonna be no subscription. And after saving, we can do an apt update just to update our packages. Okay, I'm just gonna check once again. Okay, this seems fine. Let's do it again. Guess it has some problems. Okay, we got it. So now all we need to do is actually pull the install. So we're gonna do apt install Proxmox Backup. And here's the actual installment of the backup server. So now we're just gonna pull it out. It's gonna take a while because, as you can see, this is the speed that I'm downloading it with, so it's about 15 minutes. So I'm just gonna pause the video and resume it while everything is done. So I will see you in a while. Okay, so basically now after our installation, as you everything was stuck, at least in my case it was stuck on 1% when the install actually started after downloading Proxmox server backup. So it was hanging on 1% for a moment, and then after that I just rebooted the server, and after you reboot the server you should be greeted with this kind of login screen. So as you can see, I have now Proxmox Backup Server is installed on this HTTPS address, IP address, HTTPS, and as you can see, my hostname also is changed. It's PVB, the one that we actually set. So let's just log in here. And let's of course log in here with the IP address. So that's the one we're gonna choose for now. Of course the port, the default port for backup server is 8007. So let's open that. And here we are of course gonna be logging in with root and our server debian server password. And of course the password that we actually chosen before. Okay, so of course the notification was there because this is a no subscription version. So let's go at the beginning through all of those things here that you can see. So this is our backup server 2.2-6 version. Here we have the CPU usage shown. Here we have the RAM usage, how much RAM is being used, HD space, how much space is being used at the moment. Some CPU, some more information on the CPUs, the kernel version, and the repository status. So here we have a fingerprint of our backup server, which is going to be quite important for later on, for the later configuration. So bear in mind that the fingerprint is here. It's going to be also used. Of course, here we have the swap usage. Just bear in mind that it's good that if some swap is being used, but if most of this percentage is being used, that's not good, you know, that's quite bad. So just keep in mind and check what's going on here from time to time. Okay, next we can go to configuration, because I'm gonna skip the notes, because to be honest, here on the notes you can just put some notes on if you would like regarding your server. So let's go to configuration. We have here, of course, the time settings. So I'm gonna edit mine because it's very important to keep the time as it should be. Okay, because if you have a different time zone, your server might behave a little bit erratic at some point. Of course, here we have the DNS. If you go to edit, you can change the DNS. Here's the server search domain, so here you can put the DNS domain. If the server is in a domain, of course you can input the name of the domain here as well. And you can add different DNS servers here as well. So, and here I have my network interface, only one, because it's basically this Proxmox Backup Server is installed on a Debian server, so only one. As you can see, this one. Alright, so next it's going to be access control. So in the user management we can actually create users. As of now you are of course logged in as a root user, because that's the basic user that everybody has when you install Proxmox Backup Server. But you can add a new user here. Let's say I'm gonna create one. You can choose here when the account of this user is gonna of course expire, or does it expire at some point, or never. Is the user enabled or not? Of course, first name, last name, email address. So there we go. So this is my user. Of course I can show permissions here to this user. As you can see, this user doesn't have permission to anything, so he's basically like a disabled user. So if I would like to set up permissions, specific permissions for this user, I would need to go to the permissions tab. Here click add user permissions. Here you can either choose to which things your user is gonna have rights to, or you can just choose the slash, which means that you are giving the permissions to everything to this user, to all the catalogs on your server. So basically pay attention to this, because if you even give the slash to everything and choose the user, let's say this one of course, if you choose no access, then it means that this user won't have any access to anything at this point. So you would have to change this to one of the roles that you have set up here, accordingly of course to what are the needs. There's a Datastore backup, Datastore admin, as you can see. For now I'm just gonna choose the admin. I'm gonna add, and there we go, the permissions are set for this user. So let's go to user management, show the permissions. As you can see, this user now has permissions to everything. You can of course go to factory authentication. Here It's a good thing, I think, to set up two-factor authentication. It's not a requirement, but I think it would be a good idea. Let's go to TOTP. So as you can see, I'm just gonna choose the other user. Here's the secret that you have. So basically you need to just scan this barcode with your application on the phone, and then after that you will receive a verification code that you actually input here, and then just click add, and that's all. That's your two-factor authentication at this moment. So pretty basic stuff, nothing special here. Alright. Okay, if it goes to API tokens, you can of course create this one. If you would like to have some kind of scripts on your server that will automate your updates, well, not updates, but your backups, sorry, your backups, or just in general make some things more automatical, if I can call it that, then it's of course you can set up an API token. Okay, so I'm not gonna go here into this right now, maybe in another video. Right, so another thing that we'll talk about is remotes. So here you can actually add another server if you have one set up. So you can actually, after setting up a server, another Proxmox Backup Server here, you can do like a synchronization job. When your server will send all the data to this other server and synchronize, which I will be able to show you as well, because I have another backup server, a smaller one. I'm just gonna open it. So for the purpose of this video and this presentation, I have also created another backup server. As you can see, this is the smaller one, because this one has only about 35 gigs, and an additional disk that is a backup disk that has about 9.21 gigs, and this one has right now about 7.35 gigs, but I will also create an additional disk here and add it, so I will have additional 40 gigs to use. I would have to check, because maybe I already have it attached. Yes, I have it attached, so I have an additional disk that is unused right now. It's 42, only almost 43 gigs, and my main disk that the Proxmox server is installed on, it's this one. So this is like the bigger backup server, and this is the smaller one, because I have here like two disks on almost 10 gigs each. Okay, so let's go back to the remotes. Okay, so for a brief presentation, let's now add our server for synchronization. Since this is the biggest backup server, I will just go to my smaller one, and I will go to remotes, and I will add the synchronization here. So first of all, remote ID, so I'm gonna input here main of course the IP address of the other server, so I'm just gonna copy that one. Okay, of course the authentication, so it's root and it's spam authentication. And here we need the fingerprint, so the thing that I was talking about previously. So we have to now go to our big server dashboard, show the fingerprint, copy the fingerprint, and we're gonna actually add it here and add verification name. So we got a problem with name here. Let's say just Proxmox main. Okay, so maybe prox. Let's do. Okay, so I guess it doesn't like the something too large, and I guess it doesn't like something with a dash. Okay, so this is our another server that we have added, the bigger one, because I can of course edit it here, all the things regarding to it. And now once we have actually a connection to a second Proxmox server, we can then set up a sync job that will actually synchronize our backup server, so this one with our another backup server. Right. Okay, so now we are in traffic control. So creating and restoring backups, well, can produce a lot of traffic and impact other users of the network, shared storages. So Proxmox Backup Server allows to limit the network traffic for clients within specified networks using a token bucket filter, so TBF. This allows you to avoid network congestion or to prioritize traffic from certain hosts. So we can add like a traffic rule here, a basic one. Let's say we're gonna just call it traffic control. For now, let's do the rate. Let's say it's gonna be, well, let's do like 20, or maybe no, let's do 2000. Here we can of course specify the network, so let's add our network. In this case my network 24 comments. Well, let's say it's use 20 GBs for the local network. Let's add. We can use also with the time frame, so we can have to the time frame. So let's set up a time frame for it. Let's say from 8 o'clock till 12 o'clock. Of course the name is again, so traffic control, he doesn't like that. Okay, so let's try it with this. Okay, so traffic control, there you go. Right in, we have like 2 gigs, right? 2 gigs in, 2 gigs out. Of course, we can edit that, like change this and let's say okay, so we got 20 gigs in and 20 gigs out for our network, of course, with the time frame from Monday till the end of the week, so till Friday. And our comments use 20 gigs, right, in the local area network. So that's one of the basic things that you can do with traffic control here. Okay, so let's add another rule. Let's say we would like to add a traffic control rule to limit all IPv4 clients to 100 megabytes. So let's add another rule. Let's maybe call it like 100 megs default. All, let's say something like this. And do 100 megabytes. 100 megabytes. Let's go with default limit rate 100 megabytes per second for all clients. Here in the network we're gonna specify for everybody. We're gonna also add a time frame. So this time from 7 o'clock until 15. Okay. And there we go. So it's really very easy to shape this traffic control. Depends on what kind of role you want to input here. It is very handy instead of using the CLI or the shell, because you can enter the shell here and just do it with the usual shell if you would like to. You can just do it with this add-on, so traffic control. Okay, let's go to the certificates. So here we have like our main certificate for Proxmox, which is proxy.pen, localhost VPS. We can here upload a custom certificate. We have Acme accounts, and of course we can use an Acme certificate by adding here. Right, so now we go to subscriptions. Of course, here is the status. So here is the server ID if you need it. Here's the system report. So all the necessary stuff about your server. Next we have administration. And here is a very important thing. So updates. So basically here in my backup server and the one that we actually installed, the bigger one, I haven't done the updates here, so you can go to administration updates tab, and as you can see I have a few updates here, so let's upgrade. everything that is still here. Just gonna go back here to the other server. So just to show, of course, here is the CPU usage, server load, memory usage, swap usage, network traffic, root disk usage, quite a lot of stuff that you can actually see. You can set it up, of course, by the hour, average, hour, maximum, day, week, year, so depending how you want to set it up here. Package versions, so here are all the packages. You can see the versions of all the packages installed. Services, this is pretty handy. Here you have like all the services that are running, and you can actually stop and restart them. And that's not the only thing that you can do, because as you can see, I have here SSHD. I have here Chrome. If I enter syslog, you can see all the stuff that it's connected to Chrome. So you can even choose from sent to when. So it's very nice. You can go through the syslog of all of the services. Postfix, backup, SSHD. Yeah. You can of course start, stop or restart the service. Mail transport agent. Okay, repositories. Well, here of course you can view all of the repository that you are currently using. So this is the repository that has been added for Proxmox install. PBS no subscription, of course, Proxmox. These are all the main Debian repositories, as you can see, at least on this server. If I go back here and I will check the repositories here, it's basically the same. Debian, no subscription, Proxmox, and here I have like Enterprise, PES, Proxmox as well, because it was been added. Okay, let's go here, syslogs. We have like a live mode on, or we can select a timestamp. And we can view the logs. So pretty handy, just to check what's going on. Tasks. Here are all the tasks that has been run on the server. And we here have, of course, what we can invoke the console from here. We have reboot, shutdown. So yeah, that's how it looks if it goes to administration. You can invoke the console from here, or you can go to shell, and here you have the console as well. We have a task here, console open at the moment. Okay, and now it's closed. So storages. So I have here like 2 storages mounted at the moment. How I mounted this additional storage I'm gonna show you in a moment on this second server. So I'm just gonna go here to the storages. So because I have my main disk mounted, and the other disk that is only for backups is not mounted yet. So actually to mount it and to prepare it as it should be, because it should look something like this. Backup, it's also here. For that we need to go to directory, need to create a directory, SDB file system, I'm gonna do ext4, and the name, of course, I'm gonna call it just backup. Add as a data store, yes, and creating. Okay, and as you can see, we have created an additional data store. So let's just reload, and now it's mounted. So this is gonna be our main data store for backups. As you can see, it also showed up here in the backup section. Okay. Okay, let's go back for a moment to the certificates, because there was one thing I actually missed, which is Acme account. So with Acme you can actually use Let's Script. And of course, if you have a valid domain name, you can actually use the Let's Encrypt certificate with Acme. But since well, this particular server is not actually shown to the public anywhere, and is not shown to the public internet, I wouldn't be able even to use this option, because, well, I don't have a registered domain name anywhere, so I wouldn't be able to get the certificate, because I wouldn't be even able to connect to Let's Script properly. But you, of course, if you have a valid domain name and a registered one, then there's not a problem. You can use this option, because Let's Script is quite okay for SSL security. Of course, I wouldn't recommend putting your server up for public viewing and for like public internet until it's in your local network or internal network. There's no problem, and so you don't need to use this actual Acme accounts, and you don't need to use this option and get the certificate. Okay, so I think that's all I wanted to say about this certificates. Let's go now to the disks again. Okay, so since we now have an additional directory, the main directory for our backups set up, we can go further on. So we have now tape backups. Well, since I don't have any hardware that can actually connect to show you how this option works, then I will just skip this one. But if you have the hardware for it, you can definitely check this out. Next thing is gonna be Datastore. Okay, so as you can see, we have here the summary first, of course, of the Datastore, 71%, which is quite normal because we don't have any backups yet made in our Datastore. Here we have the sync jobs. Of course, those sync jobs are related to our remotes. So since I'm just gonna go to my smaller server, because I was in a big one. Let's go to the smaller server. We'll go to Datastore, sync jobs, and here, since we have added our bigger Proxmox Backup Server, we can actually configure a sync job. So this small Proxmox Backup Server is going to be synchronizing itself and making a backup and sending it to the bigger one. So let's configure this one. So let's choose backup 1, because this is the main backup for the small server, which is here, of course. So everything that is being backed up here is gonna synchronize and go to this other server. Okay, local namespace, of course, root here, local owner root, yeah, PAM, yeah, sync schedule. Well, it can be like every 30 minutes, every hour, every 2 hours, depending how you want to actually set it up. So I'm just gonna do every 30 minutes, let's say. Remote source, of course, our remote source is gonna be the server that I have added here in the remotes, and of course the data store that has to be added to this one. So we basically, in this big Proxmox server, we made the backup here, so we're choosing the backup here as well. And so it's basically it's pulling from here and it's going here. Okay, so rate limit, you can of course limit the amount of megabytes here if you wish. And that's it. Let's add, and our job is here added, and every 30 minutes there's gonna be a synchronization job done between this Proxmox Backup Server and this one. Okay, now we have prune jobs. Prune jobs, well, we don't have anything here. We can set up prune jobs as well. We can choose the data store, backup 1, max depth, full, keep last. So here I'm just gonna put like 4, because I want to keep like 4 backups only, 4 last backups, not more than that. You can of course do it like daily, monthly, hourly, weekly, yearly. You can set it up however you want. Prune schedule, hourly, every 30 minutes. I'm gonna do an hour. Let's add. Of course, we can also, after setting up prune job here to keep the 4 last backups, we can also verify the job. So we can also add like backup 1 schedule, let's say daily, re-verify after 30 days. You can always change it as well if you want. Let's add. We have here what? Permissions, user permissions. So we have a data store. Data store, we can use user, of course. Right, admin can add. To be honest, as an already as a main user, we probably have this setup as well. As you can see, I have set up on this particular backup server to DNS servers, Google servers, Google DNS servers, access control. So yeah, just gonna check permissions, add user, path everything, root user. I'm gonna check it to admin add. Okay, so going back to our data store. So we have our jobs, prune jobs, synchronization job, and the overall summary of everything. So backups, we have like backups, data store backup, synchronization 1, synchronization, okay. Okay, so let's go here to backup. So this is backup 1, of course. As you can see, if we go to data store, it's like a short version of the backup 1. check out backup 1. This is the overall big version. So here we have the summary of our backup folder, how much space is being taken at the moment, what's the content. There is nothing here, so no backups have been done here. Prune. So in the prune jobs, we have here a garbage collection schedule. You can edit this one. Let's say every 30 minutes it's gonna be done. We have, of course, our last 4 that we set up as well. We can start the garbage collection. We'll just wait a second till it finishes. And task completed. Okay. Synchronization jobs, of course, verifying the job. Options, here in the options tab we have like our user, of course, so root, authentication with PAM, maintenance mode none. You can edit this maintenance mode, read only, offline. Yeah, you can change that as well. Verify new snapshots, no, and permissions. We can add user, root user, admin, add. And that's the overall. I think that's all the stuff that I wanted to show you if it goes to Proxmox Backup Server. So now, after this brief going on about all the options here, I will show you how to make a backup of your virtual machine to the backup server. So I will just open my virtual environment in Proxmox, which I have prepared as well for the sake of this tutorial. This time it's gonna be 8008 because that's a little bit different port than the server is. And here we are in the Proxmox virtual environment. Here is our VM, let's say. This is the VM I would like to actually back up to my backup server. Okay, so first thing we'll need to do is we need to add our Proxmox backup server here to our virtual environment in Proxmox. So I have done it already with my smaller Proxmox backup server, as you can see. Here it is. So what do you need to actually do? You have to go to Data Center, to the Backup tab, and now you click Add. Now we need to choose, well, here I have like PVE, so this is the smaller one. Of course, I can choose here PBS because that's how it's called, PBS, the backup server. So this one. Here's the schedule. Since I have it already set up here, so if you have a cluster of let's say different virtual machines, you need to add this stuff only once, and then it's available in all of your clusters, so you'll be able to back up pretty fast. So just to add your Proxmox Backup Server, you need to go to the data center, add, and then you need to add your server here. So here I have also my virtual machine, this one. So for now I'm not gonna set the backup job. I'm just gonna go here for a moment. Let's check backups. As you can see, there are no backups here. Okay, so that's fine. Permissions, nope, no permissions here. Okay, so now let's go back here. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, of course, if we have like a backup server and we want to back up, let's say, this virtual machine to our server, we need to add the backup server here to the virtual environment. So I have already done it here. As you can see, I have added my PBS server, so the smaller one, so this one. But PVB is still not added here, so if you want to do it, you need to go to Data Center and then Storage. And here, as you can see, I have PBS. I will just click it here and remove it for now. Now I will click Add. You choose Proxmox Backup Server, of course. Now you need to specify the ID, so the name. So I'm gonna add, instead of the smaller one, I'm gonna add the bigger one, so the PVB one. So let's do PVB. Here, just the IP address of the server. So of course the username, the password for authentication. We have nodes here. I'm not gonna pick this one up. Second thing, fingerprint, of course. So we need to go here, dashboard, show the fingerprint, copy. And we need to add it here for the authentication. Now in the data store, we need to pick the actual backup name of the server, Proxmox Backup Server. So if we go here, close this, our actual backup is just called backup, so because that's how we called it. So I'm gonna put here backup, so that's how our backup space is called, and add. Okay, so I guess it should be, sorry, it's 36, not 26. Okay, and here is our PVB server, the big one. We can of course again add the now PBS server, again root pam and here in the smaller server the backup space is called backup one, so that's what I'm gonna put here. And of course we need the fingerprint again of the smaller. server. And now we have both of the servers here. So this is my bigger server and this is the smaller one. As you can see, they automatically added themselves here. So if you have a cluster of, let's say, different virtual machines, you need to add this stuff only once and it will appear in all the clusters, which is very convenient. So next thing, of course, after we added our backup servers, we will now backup this particular VM to one of those servers. I'm just gonna choose the bigger one, so the PVB one, so this one. Okay, so once we are actually on the virtual machine, we need to click backup now. As you can see, if we click here backup now, we'll be prompted with another box. We can choose different things here, like storage local. Well, there is no point to storing it local because we have like two backup servers, one smaller and one bigger, so we can actually choose one of them. I'm gonna choose, of course, the bigger one. Mode, well, I'm not gonna choose the snapshot mode, I'm gonna choose the stop mode, so it will first start all the activity on the virtual machine and then make a backup of it. Okay, and then we can just choose backup, and as you can see, now everything is being executed. We're gonna wait a moment. And the task has been finished. We can actually close this. Okay, so the backup has been done, but actually you cannot see it anywhere here. Why? Well, that's because the storage here is set to local. We need to change it. We need to change to the view of our PVB Proxmox Backup Server. So if we change to PVB, there we go. There is our backup. Now if we go to our big PVB Proxmox Backup Server and we go to backup, now we go to the content tab, you can see that here is your VM and it's called VM100. So basically that's the naming convention of Proxmox Backup Server, because my VM was called 100, it had, at least that was the name of it. And here you have only thing added that it's a VM, that it's not a container. And of course the name of the VM, the name is 100. So this is how Proxmox Backup Server sorts out the naming conventions of VMs, or even the containers. So if it goes to a container, the thing is the same, so I'm not gonna show it because it's basically all the same. If I would have a container here, the process of doing a backup would be the same, and the container would just appear here under the VM, and it would just have, instead of a VM, it would have CT here. It would have like CT 101 or 102, whichever name of a container I would choose. So Of course, as you can see, when we click here on our backup, we are on a virtual environment now. We can restore the backup. We can do a file restore here. We can remove the backup. And we can put some notes here. We can show the configuration of the backup, as you can see. If we go to PVB, if we open our VM, we can even download specific files, image files here. We can edit this, like we can edit the notes, what kind of VM it was, verify, we can do a verification job. As you can see, the verification job has passed, it's okay. Verify state, all okay, okay. Can change the owner, of course. We can do a prune job here. And of course we can delete. We have here also change protection. So basically this is how the backup process looks. It's very easy, very basic. Here on the tasks tab now we probably have had the console, right? What do we have here? Client connection, okay. So for now I'm just gonna remove this. I'm just gonna put the number, enter the ID, so I will have to put the VM/100 and it's gonna be removed. And instead of doing the backup to the bigger server, now I'm gonna do the backup to the smaller one. I'm just gonna remove this as well. I'm gonna do backup now. I'm gonna choose PPS. I'm gonna choose stop backup. Why am I doing this again? Because if you remember, I have set up an actual sync job on this smaller backup server. So once the backup is here in the content, every 30 minutes there should be a sync job that will actually synchronize this small server with the bigger one. So it's almost done. And it's done. Let's just change to PBS, of course, in our virtual environment. And here I have even two of them, so I will just delete one of them. Oh, now I have the correct one. If I go to PBS, backup content, here it is. Verification status none. So let's do a verify. Verification, everything's okay, fine. Okay, so this is the backup stuff. If it goes to any containers and of course virtual machines. Now we're gonna do a backup of a server, let's say of a Debian server. I want to backup my Debian server, and it's gonna be a file backup. So for this, I'm just gonna open up one of my servers. Let's maybe take this one. Okay. Okay, so maybe before we actually back up one of my servers, do a full file backup, I'm just gonna show you one more thing. Because if we are in a virtual environment, we go to Datastore, and if you want to actually make like automatic backups, which is of course one of the most valid things, so you go to the data center backup, you add a create a backup job here, you choose the node local, so I'm gonna just choose PPB because that's the bigger one. Schedule, you can choose the schedule here, let's say every day, maybe not Monday to Friday, include selected VMs. I'm gonna leave that this is that, so this VM, send email notifications, no failure only. If you have an email, you can of course put it here. Mode snapshot, suspend, stop. I'm gonna do stop, and that's all, and create. So this is gonna be my automatic backup job for, of course, this particular VM. So data center backups. So it's very handy. I can do it. I can run now. Job details. Can edit. Change the schedule if I want to. Okay. So let's go back to the server. Okay, so basically the first thing we need to do if we want to back up our server, we need to of course install the client. So now I'm just gonna open, let's open nano, let's see, apt sources.list, and as you can see I already added here an additional line to download the PBS client, so here it is. Okay, next thing, of course, we need to download the GPG key. So if you want to do that, I'm just gonna show you. This is the actual wget command that I used to download my GPG key. So we got like http enterprise proxmox.com debian proxmox release bullseye.gpg -o, it's not 0, it's -o, and then it's @capt trusted.gpg.d proxmox release bullseye.gpg. So after that we're gonna do an apt update, and of course at the end, when everything is done, The only thing we'll need to do is to actually install the client. So we're gonna do apt install Proxmox Backup Client. As you can see, the backup client is installed on my server. Now we can start doing our backup. So we'll need to back up all the files on our Debian server. So to do that, we will use the command Proxmox Backup Client backup root.pxr. Now repository, and of course here we are gonna specify the repository address. So I'm gonna choose my PVB, so the bigger Proxmox server, so this address. And of course we need to specify where it's gonna go. So on the PVB, the name of the backup storage is backup. So backup. Since I'm a root user, of course, now I need to authenticate with the backup server. Are you sure you want to continue connecting? Yes. Okay, so as you can see, the backup is running. I guess I entered the bad password at the first time because I had an error channel closed. After entering the password once again, the backup has started. So it's probably gonna take a moment. I'll be back when it's finished. Alright, so as you can see, the backup is done. You can see the compressed. It had to back up 5 gigs. Compressed, it's 1.6 gigs. It compressed in 534 seconds with the average speed of 10.479 megabytes per second. Okay, so let's then go to our PVB summary content. And as I reloaded, of course, this is my host. So as you can see, this is my Debian server that I have backed up. It's called here PVE 3040, and here it's called host PVE 3040. As you can see, you can enter it here. These are all the catalogs. You can browse them. You can check different stuff. Yeah. So basically you can download the file as a zip or as a tar from the backup. So pretty cool stuff, of course. So basically now I have a backup of my Debian server done here. Of course I can also verify, run the verification here. Well, probably the verification would take quite a lot of time, so maybe we'll just postpone it for now. It's faster with the containers, and the VMs backing up containers is really fast because they're even smaller than a VM. So the same goes for checkups. So, but you can always do the verification and wait it out. Everything actually went quite okay. So yeah, this is how you actually back up your virtual machine and servers to your Proxmox Backup Server. One last thing that I wanted to talk about is actually creating encrypted backups. If you would like to have your backups encrypted with a key file, you can always use first you will need to actually create the key to encrypt the backup. So for that, let's use Proxmox Backup Client Key Create, and let's say it's gonna be called backup.key. Now you can specify the encryption key backup, password, and as you can see we have the backup key here. Next, if you would like to encrypt your backup, you need to do Proxmox Backup Client Backup root dot pixar backing up everything. Repository, because the slash means that you're backing up everything. Of course, not the repository. And now we're gonna give the key file. Which is in the root, and it's called backup key. So basically that's how it looks. Now we put on the encryption key. And the process is starting. So now we are creating an actual encrypted backup. Okay, so I think I will finish here. That's all I wanted to show you regarding the Proxmox Backup Server. If you would like to learn a little bit more about maybe this Proxmox Backup client, there's quite a lot of different commands that you can use if you would like to list all the backups on your server without going through the actual website, like going to the actual CLI here and checking it out here. You can do it, of course, on your server by typing certain commands regarding Proxmox Backup Client. There is quite a lot of those on the internet. I'm not gonna go through them. You can check them out. They're fairly easy. You can check up different backups. Thanks to them, you can sort the backups. You can list the backups for like certain VMs, for certain groups. Okay, so thanks for listening. I hope you liked it. If you did, like, subscribe, and if you feel like helping out the channel, consider being a Patreon. Okay, I will see you in the next video.